kay Mr. Ortiz.
Mr. Ortiz, okay.
Maraming nagsasabi na isa siguro sa dahilan kung bakit parang malakas ang ekonomiya dahil sa bilyon-bilyong pisong pinamimigay sa CCT. Dahil awash with cash yung mga taong walang trabaho at ilang bilyon yung kumalat na cash sa ekonomiya na ginasta sa consumer goods. So hindi nagkaroon ng epekto yon. Pero sa tingin din naman ng marami na naghahanap buhay, parang mali. Kasi ini-encourage yung attitude ng mendicancy. Tanggap lang sila ng tanggap ng pera na walang ginagawang abuloy sa mamamayan. Nawiwili, ika nga. Bakit kaya hindi gawin ng gobyerno yung work for food, yung di ba dati meron
Food for work.
Food
Type,
for work. O kaya miskin ginawa ni Makapagal na EEA, under a devoso nung araw, na pinagtanim sila ng puno sa kalye. I mean, para naman pinagpawisan nila yung kanilang tinanggap. Kaysa street people sila o squatters na nakatungangan, nag-aantay ng bonbon pera.
Okay.
I agree with many of the Filipinos who do not agree with the CCT. I'm not a believer in the CCT because napalaki ng budget na pupwede mo sanang ilagay sa job generating activities. At the end of the day, hindi naman maitataas ng 1,400 ang kasambuhay na isang pamilya. Marami na ako naririnig na yung mga tumatanggap niyan iniinom lang, sinasabong lang. At paano na yung bata? Pag natigil yung 1,004, hihinto rin. So wala ring sa eskwela. So hindi ako naniniwala. Maraming pwedeng gawin yung budget ng CCT na makakikreate ng job. Marami siguro tayong yung mga PPPs natin dyan or marami tayong project work sa infrastructure na pwedeng gastahin doon at i-hire yung mga taong walang trabaho. Parang i-EA na, kung i-EA na, at least merong productive thing na nangyayari at mabibilis pa yung employment, mabibilis pa yung mga nagkikreate ng employment na activities. Yun ang isa sa wish ko na i-rechannel yung budget dyan I'll give you an example. Ang Department of Trade is the one agency that is expected na mag-create ng jobs, magdala ng investment. Ang budget ng Department of Trade is 2.9 billion. 2.9 billion, mind you. Doon sa 2.9 billion na yon, yung 500 billion is going to what they call the International Trade Group. Alin ba yung International Trade Group? Yan yung lahat ng sa export. Nandiyan yung SITEM, kilala nyo yung SITEM, Philippine International Trading, Philippine Trade Training Center, Design Center, Bureau of Export Trade Promotion, Bureau of International Trade Relations. Nandyan lahat yun. Ang budget niyan, 500 million. Pati yung mga foreign postings yan. Yung 500 million, 80% of that, like in any government, salaries and administrative costs. So magkano ang natitira talaga sa export promotion? Out of the 500, 100 million. Out of export of trillions. Alam mo naman, bigyan mo lang ng additional 500 million o 1 billion yung DTI for export promotion, makaka-create ng jobs yan. Makakabenta yan. Bakit hindi natin i-relocate? Maraming agencies na ganyan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Senator Sulu.
Just to follow up, I take a different view sa kay June here. Alam po ninyo, yung conditional cash transfer yan, binabigayan sa sektor ng ating pambansa na mahirap talaga. At bakit tinatawag conditional yan? Sapagkat para makuha nila noon, dapat yung anak nila papapasukin sa eskwelahan, at ikalawa, dadalhin sa health center. Pag tiningnan natin po yung sinasabi natin kailangan ma-employed ang tao, may mga levels po yan eh. May levels yung tinatawag ko nung nagtuturo ako sa UP, levels of preparedness. May level dyan na kung hirap na hirap talagang tao, kailangan bigyan mo ng tulong. Okay? Pag medyo pwede na siya, next stage na yan. That's why yung sinasabi ko, itong conditional cash transfer, simula lang po ito. Ang next stage yun, yung sinasabi natin, na bibigyan ng training at bibigyan ng trabaho. Magkano ang nandyan sa conditional transfer? 60 billion ba? O 45 billion? 44 billion. Alam po ninyo, magkano ang savings na departamento ni Babe Singson na generate for 1 year? 16 billion. Tiningnan lang yung mga proyekto ng previous administration at inayos nila. Ang ibig ko sabihin po, yung pera na gagamitin sa ibang proyekto, pwede natin makuha niyan pag may savings tayo kasi meron tayong anti-corruption campaign. Ikalawa, ako po ay naging managing head at vice chairman ng Board of Investment. So medyo mag-disagree ako kay June dito na maliit ang budget ng DTI. I will put on record na ang budget ng DTI ay ang pinakamalaki sa lahat ng departamento. Talo pa yata ang Department of Education. Bakit? At ito po ay sinabi ko nung Cabinet Economic Cluster meeting last Friday, the other Friday pala na inibita kami. Kasi po, nung head ako ng BOI, nagbibigay kami ng incentives. Ano po yung incentives? Income tax holiday, tax and duty-free importation of capital equipment, double deduction for training. Now, ang problema, itong mga incentives na binibigay ng BOI, hindi ito na-estimate eh. Yung nga sabi ni Finance Secretary Purisima sa akin, bottomless pit. Hindi natin alam kung magkano yon. And that's why, during that cabinet cluster meeting, ang sinabi ko, I am prepared to support kasi kailangan mag-continue talagang incentives kasi ang finance mukhang ayaw nila. Sabi ko, I'm willing to support, continue natin yung incentives, pero dapat i-estimate ng BOI, estimate ng PESA, lahat na incentives giving agency, estimate nila annually magkano ang incentives na bibigay nila. In other words, kung income tax holiday yan, ilang billions lang. Alam po ninyo, ako po ang head ng BOI nung binigyan namin at ni-register ang Globe at ang Smart. Ilang billions ang profit nila, ilang billions ang income tax holiday nila. Palagay ko po, kung 4 or 5 billion annually, nandyan yun. So, ang budget nandoon, kung ilagay natin, dapat may transparency tayo. Lahat ilagay natin. Yan importante. At finally po, yung sa investment, i-second ko yung sinabi ni June na kailangan siguro yung legislation, kailangan i-amend na, maybe through a constituent body, yung economic provisions ng Constitution, para po yung mga foreigners can own land, para po yung mga foreigners can go into areas more than 40%.
Okay.
Bakit kailangan yan? Nung nagsimula ang Aquino administration, tumaas ang investments galing sa private sector. At hindi ito sa report ng DTI. Tingnan nyo lang yung that year, 2010, ang GDP figures, tingnan nyo ang capital formation lumaki. Bakit? I will quote Washington CSIP. Anong sabi ni Washington CSIP? Nung nanalo daw si Pinoy, nagpadala siya ng email niya sa kanyang mga business associates. At itong nakalagay, come and invest in the Philippines. We now have an honest president. Alam po ninyo, pag may perception na honest ang Pangulo, pag negosyante ka, papasok ka eh. Kasi alam mo, walang shakedown eh. Pero, 3 years na. Kailangan may bagong na namang tagline. At palagay ko po, pag in-amend natin yung economic provisions and allowed more foreigners to come in, yun naman ang magiging tagline malalaman niya ng buong mundo, okay pala mag-invest sa Philippines kasi wala nang area na limited, no? Okay.
Well said. Henry, do you agree sa sinabi ni Bimbo na dapat mabuksan ang saligang batas para maayos yung economic provisions na sinauna na?
For me naman, di ba? Kasi a lot of foreign investment, they are of course being constrained because of the foreign ownership. But then, I'll like to let our legislators to really decide on that. Kasi parang there are pros and cons, But of course, as a businessman, I go for that. But then again, of course, I think that legislators have their own concern regarding some businesses, which are really, I see right now, I think newspapers, communications, whatever, airlines, hindi pwedeng majority mga foreign investment. But sometimes we should open up already. But we are more concerned on the other things. We are more concerned really on how to give more jobs to our people. Of course, if you open up our economy to a lot of foreign investors, there will be really more investment, and ultimately there will be more jobs that we'll be creating.
Okay.
Alam mo itong call center talaga, nakikita mo, all of them are almost paid beyond minimum wage talaga.
Yes.
At one time, kasi may call center din kami, at one time nahirapan kami. Alam mo, paano ba yan? When you hire call center agents at that time, you train them for around 2 to 3 months.
Yes.
And then you pay them allowances every day. After the training, you hire them, and then you pay them above minimum. At that time, umabot pa ng 15 to 18,000 pesos starting salary.
Okay.
Now, do you know, after you train them for so long already, there are mga bulls, mga nasa labas yun, they will try to pirate your agent to another call center. Do you know how much they paid for that one? For every people that they pirate to another call center, they were paid 20,000 pesos.
Just
Sabi
to
ko,
pirate.
just to pirate. Kung 5 lang pinirate niya, may 100,000 pesos na yan. Do you know that really affected so much so that the call center came out with their own association, and we have to police ourselves na huwag na tayong gumawa ng ganon. Kasi mamatay tayo lahat yan you're just pirating after training them, and then it was being pirated. But then again, we are happy that there are a lot of institutions right now training out more call center agents. Mga AMA, whatever. Kaya meron mga call center agents talagang naka-train na for a pool that for you to really hire them. But again, yun ang sinasabi ko, it's relative whether kung yung minimum wage that you have to keep or whatever, kasi mahirap ka makahanap ng call center agents, kailangan magaling mag-English, di ba? Saka they want to also work long hours, mga ganito. So yun ang kailangan natin na it's not really a minimum wage, really supply and demand. When the demand for call center agents is more than the supply, talagang tataas ang sweldo dyan. Again, the most important thing to create more jobs. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We have questions from the floor. From Solar Television, please. And please identify yourself.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm Christine de Guzman from Solar News. Sir, on the issue of the unemployment rate, Labor Communications Office Director Nicon Fameronag says that the function of creating jobs is on the economy and the private sector. And the
Yes.
only role of the Labor Department is to facilitate and help the private sector to create more jobs. Your take on this, sir?
Okay. Reactions from the Management
Well,
Association of the Philippines.
Of course, we are the driver of the economy. We are the driver of employment. But we can be better drivers if the road is good. And the good road will come from government. Government infrastructure, government regulations, the culture of government in creating an environment where business is doing well. Okay. Yung sinasabi natin jobless growth na nangyari. Kasi pag tingnan natin mabuti yung mga figures, may advantage po ako kaunti kasi nagtuturo ako ng business sa UP noon So na-analyze natin yung mga data. Pag tinignan niyo mabuti, saan ang employment nanggagaling? Nanggagaling yan sa mga call centers din eh. Pero sa call centers, college graduates, hindi ba? College graduates. Pag tinignan natin yung pool of young people we have in the Philippines, what percentage college graduates? Very few. Which means we have a large pool of young people without the skills, without the education, that will go into the kind of industries that we are pushing for, which is call centers, services, and so on. So, what have we asked government to do? Number one, two things lang. Sabi ni Henry, agriculture. Agriculture. Pag binigyan, let's say sa rice lang, kung binibigyan ng palay support ang mga farmers, mag-i-encourage yan papasok into farming sa rice. Hindi po lang. May mga negosyante who are not farmers but will go into what we call corporate farming. Kasi nakikita nila merong magandang market. Pag nangyayari yon, tingnan po ninyo, the agricultural sector has the potential of absorbing a lot of yung sinasabi nating unemployed. Isa. Ikalawa, manufacturing. Palagi natin sinasabi, patay na yung manufacturing sa bayan natin sapagkat you can import everything, no? Pero pag tingnan natin mabuti, skilled and unskilled labor nagagamit sa manufacturing sector. Now, how do you get manufacturing sector to move? Alam po ninyo, I made a controversial recommendation before. Alam ko siguro finance may not like it. Pero sabi ko, in the past when I headed BOI, may distinction eh. Export-oriented domestic industries. Pag export, binibigyan natin ng incentives. Pag domestic, pag pioneer lang. Pero sabi ko sa kanila, that was the time na may dichotomy. Export market, domestic market. Pero ngayon, iba ng world eh. The domestic market is an international market. Sapagkat ngayon dito, kung nagmamanufacture ka sa domestic market, ang kalaban mo, hindi lamang yung mga nagmanufacturing dito, kundi yung mga manufacturers in Thailand, in China, nagpapapadala ng kanilang produkto dito sa Pilipinas. So dapat bigyan din yung incentive. So the incentives regime para sa manufacturing, huwag na i-distinguish domestic or foreign. Bigyan na the same incentives for all the enterprises functioning in the Philippines.
Reaction from Mr. Sergio Ortiz Luis, please.
Well, number one, kailangan nating tandaan siguro na lagi nating sinasabi na kayang-kaya ng mga kumpanya na magbayad ng mataas na sweldo. We have to really see that all 98% of our enterprises are small and medium. Yung 2%, yun yung mga multinationals, conglomerates, tsaka yun yung mga nasa industries na very visible. So yung 98%, yung unang kadalasan, sisigap-sigap yan. Yung 7.8% na lumabas na GDP natin, malaking porsyento ron accounted for by the big enterprises. Hindi pa nagtitrickle down effect because yung small and medium nandun pa. At yun nga, isa namin gusto rin makita sana rin sa SONA, na i-address ang issues ng small and medium enterprises. Na yan ang tulungan. At yan ang kung ano magagawa nila para matulungan. Kadalasan, yan din yung mga kumpanyang umiiyak pagka magtataas ng minimum wage. Kasi marami riyan nasa, nasa in-between, surviving lang yung iba riyan eh. Maraming nga riyan eh, may mga problema sa financing, maraming nga riyan, may mga utang sa bangko, hindi lang makapagsara dahil may mga utang, may mga bayar sa hindi mabitawan. So, ang dapat nating i-address talaga, para sa akin, panahon na, para pagtuulan ng pansin yung SMEs na halos wala tayong ginagawang visible ngayon. At yun, whether it's they are agricultural producers, whether they are, yung mga SMEs dapat pag-isipan natin, gawa natin ng mga roadmap by industry at tingnan natin, especially on the issue of financing.
Okay.
Dahil ang financing natin, meron tayong Magna Carta for SME noon, pinasa, nag-lapse na yun 2 years ago, pinalitan, pero ngayon, hindi pa rin successful na ipalalabas yung utang sa mga regions na mga enterprise na region, madalas nagreklamo sa amin, nasaan na kayong funding? Ba't wala kaming nakikita? Marami rin naman, hindi sila bankable because marami tayong crisis sa pinagdaan, Asian crisis, financial crisis, marami sa kanila may mga past due, so hirap na hirap. So yun ang dapat natin pag-isipan. Kung hindi natin masosolve yan, nakaramihan sa ating mga kapitbahay na solve na, medyo mahirap tayo talaga umangat na sustain growth.
Okay.
May
Norman,
tanong lang ako kay Juno kasi
Okay.
nung panahon ni Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, parang may nabasa ako na nagbigay daw siya sa PCCI ng 1 billion or 2 billion SME fund. Nangyari ba yon? So nasa periodiko lang pero hindi nakatanggap ang PCCI.
Okay. No, yes, Norman.
Balik lang ako sandali dun sa tanong ni Ma'am from Manila Bulletin. My view about yung CCT program is nothing but a band-aid solution. Hindi sustainable yan, and you may be right. One of the reasons probably why we posted some growth, no, in our economy is because of this CCT program. Pero nabanggit din ni Sir Salazar, no, na itong CCT program ay para sa pinakamahihirap sa ating mga mahihirap karaniwan, no. And I would not go against this, no, to give this kind of support to the poorest of our poor, no. But for government to banner this as a major program doesn't make sense, no. Now, let's go to the issue of, this is all about our economy and the role of government on how it can play its role into building the Philippine economy. And I would like to go to the fundamentals. Nung high school tayo, di ba? Ang wealth or growth or of a nation is measured by its gross national product. Okay? At components ng gross national product, yung consumption, yung government spending, yung investment, andyan yung net exports. Meron dyan din sinasabing net flow payments. Pero hindi ko na gustong bigyan pansin.
Wag na muna yan. Wag na muna yan.
Hindi, kaya naman, as an example, no, yung CCT brought about the increase in household consumption. So kaya kahit papaano, nag-exhibit ng growth, no? But this is non-sustainable. The first, the three most important things here are household consumption, investment, and government. And the government has a lot of things to do right, no? Binanggit ko kanina, for as long as 40% of the national budget is lost to corruption, no? Nothing much in public infrastructure, no, can be had, which is necessary for private business to go about its business. And Mr. Ortiz said here that for business to be a good driver, they need a good road.
Yeah, okay.
They need a good road, and that good road is supposed to create jobs, no? And jobs is supposed to increase the spending power of consumers. So this is all we are all at. And what I am prescribing are just 4 key legislation to address the problem in government.
Thank you. Henry, is it true that most Filipino-Chinese businessmen would rather invest in China rather than the Philippines? That's what President Aquino said in 2011.
Hindi ho, totoo yun. It's not true, no? This is the country where we are born, no? Kasi you have to also distinguish, there are a lot of Chinese Filipinos, that were born here. Of course, there are also some who migrated here in the 60s, in the 80s. But for those Chinoy, kagaya katulad ko, was born here, educated here. Of course, our main business nandito eh. But then as you grow to a big conglomerate, no, like SM, siyempre, you have to seek also your, internationally, kung where you have to expand. Kasi medyo nagsaturated na tayo dito, you have to go to other countries. Just like other countries are also looking into our, Kaya tignan mo, Metrobank is also putting up branches, no, in China. And I think SM has put up 5 malls in China also, no. But then, these are isolated cases. But most of the small and medium, Chinese, Filipino enterprises would rather do their business here. Kasi kahit napapano, nandito na tayo, and saka sanay na tayo dito. And of course, the peace and order is a panganay. Kaya at one time, I have to tell you, a lot of Chinese Filipinos invested outside is because of the peace and order. As long as we have a very conducive peace and order situation, I don't think Filipino Chinese will really invest outside, rather than in the Philippines. And the Federation is also encouraging more of us to do into business to hire more people.
Thank you very much. We have a question from the floor. The lady from the back. Yes, please. Pakilapit lang po. We're pressed for time.
Good morning. I'm Eileen May Navarro from DZAR, Sunshine Radio. Another issue po. Ang Pilipinas po ay kilala sa pag-export ng mga OFWs,
Okay.
which we know na it's called as modern slavery. Ano po sa palagay natin sa business sector, yung mga sunshine industry ng bansa na doon po tayo tumutok at magkaroon ng trademark ang Pilipinas sa world economy?
Yeah, okay. So, anong pwedeng winners sa larangan ng negosyo na pwedeng tutukan ng pansin? Henry.
Maganda ito eh. Kasi Sunshine Radio sila eh.
Oo nga, kaya nga
Kaya
pinilit.
Sunshine Industries eh.
Forcing through.
Give my regards to Pastor
Joke
Kipoloy. Ibigyan natin yun. Kasi at one time, we have also a program in Sunshine Radio every Saturday morning talking about hybrid rice, talking about agriculture. And we are glad that we have been part of it. Of course, you're looking at mga Sunshine Industries, whatever. But then again, kasi, business were seek the label, where it's very conducive. I still remember there's one appliance manufacturing. Kaya puro assemble sila. I just forgot the name. I think 5 or 6 years ago, nandito sila. They employed 5,000 employees just in one area. I think they have around 20,000 employees nandito. But because of the sudden increase in labor, tsaka may labor unrest tayo, lumipat sila eh. Alam mo, it's very easy to transfer from one place to another, ang lumipat sila, they really, they moved actually to Vietnam at that time. In the span of 3 months, nakalipat sila kagad. There's a dislocation of so many people. Also, Martel, the one who do the Barbie dolls many years ago, nandito sila. They also employed a lot of our Filipino employees. Naklumipat din sila kaagad. Kasi itong mga kaya that's why, parang when water seeks its own level, business also seeks its own Alam mo itong of course call center, Sunshine Industries. Ngayon, I think wala tayong threat before, but right now there are threats already. Kasi dati call center originated from America, If you go to American call center offices, you can find yung mga naka-employ dyan, puro mga retiree mga blacks, mga African Americans, mga 65, 70 years old na, mga bump, tapos puro matataas mga ang sweldo nila eh. When they move here, puro mga energetic, mga kabataan, and they are so happy, and we speak very good English. I think there are only 2 countries, India and the Philippines, who are in the call center movement. But of course, for India, they have a certain accent. Pag alam mo, galing India na ito eh. And they have the British, yung mga elevators nila, lift or whatever. So, The Americans would rather put it in the Philippines. And do you know that also the Indian call center companies are also investing here? But I know that even in China right now, they are training their English very hard already. That they want to also see that call center at one time will be in China. Mabilis na din sila mag-practice ng English eh. And there's one joke, no? When China was buying for the Olympic Games many years ago, sabi mga Olympics committee it's very difficult to put Olympics in China because when the tourists go there, a lot of your people doesn't know how to speak English. It's very difficult for us to host the Olympics Games there. But then you know what the Chinese say? You give us 4 years, and I guarantee you that there will be more Chinese speaking English than the whole of America. Kasi pa 1.3 billion sila baka kung 200 million marunong mag-English yan. Kaya that's why they train all the taxi cab drivers lahat to speak English, And it's very competitive right now. We should not bask at the sunlight of may call center tayo. Baka before you knew it, after 5 years, inagaw na natin ng ibang countries. We should be on the lookout. But of course, we should always be also on the lookout for better sunshine industries to come in.
Yes, Bimbo.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's very difficult when you ask a question, what's the sunshine and the sunset industries? Kasi palagi ko sinasabihan ng mga negosyante, if you come to think of it, there's really no such thing as sunshine and sunset. There's only the company or the industry that's good for you. In other words, you might be in an area and people say sunset industry na yan, but if you have a company that's well-run, that's innovative, that company will continue. Pag tingnan mo noon, yung pandesal, yung bakery, parang ano na yun eh. Ano nangyari? Pumasok si John Lucoa with yung French baker. Dinala niya yung concept na naaralan niya nung sa Paris siya when we sent him. He was an assistant professor sa College of Business when I was associate professor. Dinala niya yung technology, dinala niya yung system. Ngayon, if you look at Gardenia also is bringing in a whole range of bread products. In other words, innovation ang answer dyan. Tingnan mo hanggang ngayon, why are the conceptions still around? Despite the fact na meron kang Samsung, meron kang National and so on. Kasi they are innovating. So ang importante diyon, dapat, whatever industry you are in, pag may company ka, you must always innovate. Look for something new, improve your strength. Now, as we look forward though, pag tinitingnan ko itong administration ni President Aquino, because of what Secretary Babe Singson and Secretary Prosi Alcala as well as Mon Jimenez told MAP during our breakfast dialogue with them individually, I see tourism. Maganda pa rin. Bakit? Meron yung tinatawag ngayon tourism convergence. Let me explain. In the words of Babe Singson, sabi niya, meron tayong underground river sa Palawan. We are talking about it. Nasa periodiko yan. But sabi niya, pag pumunta ka doon noon, yung road leading to the underground river is a road under the local government. And the road was in a very bad state. Very bad state. Alam mong ginawa ni Babes? Department of Public Works and Highways pumasok, inayos ang daan. And ngayon may agreement ang Department of Tourism at ang Department of Public Works and Highways na lahat na in-identify ng Department of Tourism na tourist centers, bibigyan nila priority yung roads leading to that particular area. So if you are there, that's a business opportunity for you.
Okay.
The same will happen in agriculture. Nag-work together si Prosi Alcala at si Babe Singson, again, para yung farm and market roads malagay so that the farm produce will find a good market. I will just say a little something about infrastructure. I will repeat what I said in the economic cluster meeting where June Abayo was there, Petilia was there, Butch Abad was there, and so on. I said, and ito, sinabi din ito ni June Ortiz bago lang. Ang infrastructure importante sa mga negosyante. They cannot be too fast in infrastructure. The faster you are, the better. And so you know what I told the cabinet cluster? I said, yesterday, I was arguing with some of the former people of Gloria Macapagal Arroyo because they were saying, sabi ko, the reason very slow ang infrastructure ngayon ninyo, talking to the Aquino cabinet, kasi nag-aantay kayo para mag-make your own deals eh. Yan ang problema. When an administration unduly delays on its infrastructure projects, it raises suspicions and doubts in the mind of people na baka may nangyayari.
May magic.
May magic.
Okay.
In fact, my column in Bulletin today, I have to give my commercial, I'm saying that it's not only the executive that should not delay, it's also the judiciary that should not delay, because when the judiciary delays on settling cases, it raises the questions in the people, bakit itong ibang case ito, nagdi-delay sila, siguro may hinihintay.
All right.
Okay.
Let's leave it at that. Senator Ortiz Luis, please, sir.
Well, basically, when we talk, ang mga pinag-uusapan natin na pupwedeng, mga industries na pupwedeng magangat, low-hanging fruits, well, number one, yung tourism. Because tuloy-tuloy ang paglaki ng tourism, maraming segments ng tourism na pupwedeng pasukan ng mga tao. Number two, hopefully, they will finally address the issue of mining. Because whether we like it or not, kailangan tumakbo yung mining, kailangan liwanagin na once and for all, ano ba talaga yung pwede, ano yung hindi. No? And number three, I go to the agriculture and agriculture. Marami pang areas dyan na pwedeng pasukan, like na successful, nakikita ko sa merkado okay naman, like yung mga high-value crops, pwede natin pasukan yan. Merong isang industry na sumisisi doon, pero mukhang in our meetings lately, yung mga nasa garment sector, all of a sudden, nagkakaroon ng convergence yung mga reasons here and there na mukhang babalik yung garments dito. One, for instance, yung Bangladesh na pinuntahan ng mga orders sa US, medyo na-ban because they cannot comply. Ang US, they're starting to inquire again here, and looks like yung mga company na nag-i-import doon, gusto mag-import dito, parang doble na yung gusto nilang makitang so, ang problema doon sa industry ng garments, marami nagsara na. Ang mga players konti na lang. So, yun ang ini-encourage sana namin na kung magkakaroon sila ng financing, makakabalik sila, because it looks like mukhang bumabalik yung mga order sa garments.
Magandang balita yan. Norman, anong sunrise industries before I shoot the last question?
Well, dapat ang tinitingnan natin sigurong sunrise industries yung manufacturing, yun ang isang the reason why I say dapat sunrise yan is because yun yung talagang pangangailangan natin, because these are the real job generators, tsaka ibig sabihin long-term job generators yan, hindi tulad nga ng call center na baka sa susunod na araw nasa ibang bansa na yan, pero yung manufacturing kasi, the reason why there is manufacturing in a particular country is because that is supported by the consumers of that country. And the reason, for instance, that our car assembly operations in the Philippines are going to Thailand and to other countries is because we do not have much market for cars in this country, because very few people have...
the market we have are for hand-me-downs from Japan.
Oh yes, correct. And what more can I add to that? I guess that's about it.
Okay. Now, I was a witness to an incident, Henry, in 2001 when we asked then President Gloria Arroyo. This was 2001. When she met Jiang Zemin in China, in Beijing. And we asked the president at the time what were his requests. And President Arroyo at the time said there were only 2 requests from the Chinese leader. One was for bananas, which they love so much. And number 2 was for English teachers. That was in 2001, because they will prepare for the 2008 Olympics. So that was how forward-looking they were. Now, the question now is, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 as the highest rating we can give, what's your rating for the first 3 years of President Benigno Aquino's leadership? How would you rate him? Let's start with Norman. On a scale of 1 to 10, teka, hinahabol yung mikropono. Sige po, habol natin. Para sa solar television, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how would you rate the administration?
Yung pasang-awa,
Ano yun?
I don't know which, kasi from a scale of 0 to 100, yung pasang-awa is 75 eh. Diba? I don't know sa scale of 1 to 10 what
Hindi 5.
pasang-awa is.
5.
5.
Okay. Mr. Sergio Ortiz Luis, sir?
Well, I represent several groups that commission iba-iba ang variation ng rating nila. So I wouldn't want to speak because when I speak, I might be looked at as speaking for them. So I'd rather not.
What about ECOP?
May I just add something to what I
Sige,
said?
Norman.
Sinabi kong pasang-awa, it's not really to put down the person, ano? But really, we have more expectations of him. That's the reason why.
Okay. So, Mr. Ortiz, no rating? Okay, no rating. Mr. Bimbo Salazar, please.
I think my rating already came out in the papers today. I was asked to rate him on the scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the highest, and I rated him 2. Now, I must reveal certain things on record why I say 2. First of all, this president is perceived by the population as still honest. No deals with this president. This president can be as stubborn as his mother, which is good, because then he can run after those who are corrupt. But what this administration has introduced is that commitment to good governance, commitment to accountability, commitment to transparency. So sabi ko 2. But then I ask further what he needs to do on the next 3 years. And what is that? Yung good governance, yung honesty, I can say at the level of the cabinet, nandyan. The challenge is to bring it down all the way down.
To the
Kasi-
LGUs.
Ha?
To the LGUs.
LGUs, bureau, staff, judiciary, lahat. Because police, kasama yan. Kasi, let's face it, after 9 years of Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, where the culture of impunity was brought into the picture, you can do wrong, okay lang. Ngayon dapat, that culture has to be totally changed. Now, the PMAP, Personnel Management Association of the Philippines, asked me to speak to them. And they were all worried what will happen in 2016. Parang sino ba maging Pangulo? Nandun pa rin daang matuwid and so on. Ako sabi ko sa kanila, simple lang kami sa MAP. Sa MAP, we are committed to good governance. We are committed to transparency and so on. We are working with this administration. Ipasok natin yan. Every time we have a breakfast meeting, we had a breakfast meeting with Babe Singson. At the end, MAP will support Department of Public Works and Highways in their procurement process. We had a meeting with Cesar Purisima. At the end, MAP put forward our own money, 14 million pesos for training and development of staff in the finance department, hopefully also BIR, so that they'll be more aware of what businessmen go through. Mga things like that. So that whoever is the president in 2016, MAP will be prepared to tell that president, Mr. President, ito kailangan ang gagawin. And since we are composed of members who are competitive, walang kailangan magsipsip kaninong presidente, pwede namin masabi sa kanya, ito ang kailangan at nagproduce ng results. So, 2 pa rin ako.
Two pa
Sabi
rin.
ko sa kanya, bigyan ko siya ng 1 kung ipakulong niya si Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo.
Okay.
Bakit? Kasi wala pa eh. Wala pa talaga. Si Erap, ano yun? That was a fluke nangyari kay Erap. Because in fairness to Erap, I always say, and I believe when Erap said, wala siyang kinuha. Hindi ba weteng ang naano sa kanya eh. Kay Erap noon, weteng, hindi ko yung kinuha sa coffers ng bayan
gobyerno.
Hindi ba? Oo, wala yun. So, yun lang masabi ko. I gave 2 with the hope that it will encourage the president to do better.
Okay. Mr. Henry, from the Federation.
Understand sa UP, baka makum laude tayo, dapat 1.75 hindi pa sila binigyan ng 1.75 2 pa. So anyway, if a scale of 1 to 10, I think already the president at least an 8 or 8.5.
Okay.
Kahit na papano, the last few years, it's a very short, only 3 years lang to. Our GDP has grown to as high as 7.8% already. And we have to credit the president for that. And also our upgrades by the international rating industries has giving us several upgrades already. I think we should also give credit to the president. But then again, there are another 3 more years to go. Hopefully, if we can sustain that, and hopefully, there are still a lot of things that we need to do in order to lift us out of poverty. Marami nagsasabi, hindi pa naka-trickle down sa mga masses But of course, in the private sector, we are also doing our best. Everybody knows that I'm deep in agriculture, that I'm helping on my own small way how to increase the livelihood of the poor farmers. Farmers in Nueva Ecija right now, during dry season, can boast of making hundreds of thousands of pesos net per hectare of rice land. And this is precisely what we are doing, and hopefully, before the end of the term of the president, we can really lift the economy, because the most important thing is really agriculture. Thank you.
Mga kaibigan, on that note, we'd like to say thank you to our guests who took time out to be with us. Yes, Bimbo?
Meron lang ako, just somebody texted me, emailed to me right now. You're familiar with the movement for good governance, sina Nene Guevara, and I will, I will email this to you.
Yes.
They have just come out with their assessment on all areas, economy, movement for good governance, So, the economy, the economy, nakalagay nila, score sa GDP growth, score 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Investment ratio, 7.5.
All right.
Export to GDP ratio, score is 1.5, very low. Employment generation, score is 5.0, etc. So I'll provide this to you. I think they may have issued it already, but this is a more detailed evaluation of the performance of the president based on the statements that he has made.
Okay. May nag-text po sa akin, pahapon lang, bear with me, gentlemen. Ang tanong po sa nangyari ngayon, 3 taon na lang si Pangulong Pinoy, meron daw ba kayong nakikitang knight in shining armor for 2016? Yan. Norman, may nakikita na ba kayong knight in shining armor nakasakay sa kabayong puti na pagpapatuloy ang kaunlaran ng Pilipinas? Norman.
Alam mo, this is what we say. More than a great leader, we need an educated, empowered, and vigilant people. So the only knight shining armor that can come about in 2016 is a vigilant, empowered people. And we are taking certain steps in the party to make this come about.
Thank you. Mr. Senator Ortiz Luis, sir.
Eh, maraming nakakabayo ng puti. Hindi ka namin alam kung talagang 19 ano yun.
Alright. That's a nice
Sabi,
one.
sabi ni June, tingnan mo daw ang kulay niya, hindi naman puti.
Aha.
Oo.
Okay.
Baka yun. Anyway, ako naman, I agree with Kapatiran. Alam po ninyo, palagi tayo naghahanap ng tao who will lead us. Eh dapat yung mga mamamayan, yun po. At we're doing something about it. Ako po ay chairman rin ng Insight Go. Meron po kaming programa reaching out to, well, almost covered whole of Mindanao, most of Visayas and Luzon. Ano pong ginagawa namin sa Insight Go? Tinutulungan po namin yung mga civil society groups sa local governments. Unang-una, let them be aware na yung mga advocacies nila will not move forward, will not be established. The roots will not be established unless they go into political process. Madaming civil service organization, protesta lang. Dapat ngayon, they have to go into the political process. Ano ibig sabihin? Pag dumating ang election, the civil society groups will have to run for public office. Local governments, so that they can control it. Kasi pag hindi ginawa ng civil society groups yan, ang mananalo pa rin yung mga kamag-anak ng mga those who are ever in power, and you and I know, if you're in power, you will not do any reforms that will affect you. Unless they're rare people. My uncle was mayor of Manila, Arsenio Lacson. None of his children followed him into politics. But he did a good job as mayor. No? Ganyan dapat ang the type of things we should have. Hindi gaya yung sabi ng anak ko nga may classmate daw siya sa Ateneo. Hindi naman magaling. Ngayon, public office na. Hindi ko sinabi presidente, ha?
Oo.
Ito, local government. Local government. Bakit? Kanyang father, senador, hindi ba? So, automatically, parang na-elected, even though, kung tingnan mo, hindi naman pa talaga as qualified.
All right.
So, we will work. Dapat, I agree, yung sinabi ni
Norman.
Norman sa Kapatiran, the local people organize, go into politics so that we can have a better society.
Mr. Henry, sir.
Alam mo, itong mga kasama ko dito, puro very safe sila, walang sinasabi kung sino-sino Although here, we know that there are a lot of politicians who are already vying for the next presidency. There are a lot of senators, even the vice president, lahat sila nakapumipila na But then, of course, we have to find somebody, of course, who could continue the mandate of honesty, non-graft and corruption. Marami dito among us. Kaya lang, mananalo ba yan, di ba? Yun ang isang If you are honest, hindi ka sigurado mananalo dyan kasi talagang we have known for so long that elections are tainted with a lot of anomalies and all of this. I understand that right now they are even trying to discredit the PCOS machine already. Meron nagsabi talaga yung PCOS machine talaga may kalokohan din. Of course, I will leave it to the legislators to handle it. But again, it's not the election, especially for president. It's really a popularity contest. Meron mga tao, they cannot win in the local election. Kasi mga local dyan, alam nila kung anong ugali niya But because they are so popular, they can even win a national election.
Oh, yeah.
Ganun naman talaga.
Okay.
Kaya ganun naman talaga tayo. I do not know. We pray to God, hopefully, that they will enlighten our electorate to find a new president for us. Kaya, you have to be safe also, We will not mention anybody.
All right.
Whether knight in shining armor or knight in white horse or whatever, Thank you.
Thank you very much, mga kaibigan. May I request our guests to please stand. Souvenir photo naman tayo. And I'd like to say thank you to our friends from the Aristocrat for hosting us today. Thank you.